Welcome into this week's edition of the Co-Lin Coaches Show. It's all about our spring sports as we finish out the year here. Just a few weeks left in the school year and in the athletic year. First up is our softball segment. Joining me is our assistant softball coach, Amber Beall. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
And Coach, obviously a week where maybe a little bit improbably you went 4-0 this week. You kept the perfect going there. You're still on top in the MAC standing. Still got 2 games ahead of everybody. But we're going to talk about that sweep against Gulf Coast. You win one 11-5 and then 4-3 in 9 innings. Just talk about that sweep. Talk about how good it felt, and really 2 different styles of ball games. Which, when we've talked with Coach Malia, that's kind of been the theme there. You know, you've had one that's been really close, and then you have one that's not necessarily like a blowout, but one that's 4, 5, 6 kind of run game. But that just kind of feels like it's the style right now for Lady Wolf softball.
Right. So, yeah, that game against Gulf Coast. I mean, we knew and we know all year long that everybody in the conference is. Really strong. There's not a team in the conference that's just, really down this year. So every series is a big series. And, Gulf Coast, that series was fun. It was intense. But, they just came out and they were wanting to play. They were ready to play. And that's all we could ask of them.
And you look at game 1 specifically, you win this one 11-5, a game where you gave up 5 unearned runs. Mm-hmm. I talked with Emily Richard, who got the win after the game. I said, you got to win. I said, and you didn't give up an earned run in this one. And she kind of laughed. She said, yeah. She's like, she kind of gave that feeling of she maybe didn't like the outing for herself. Right. But, I told her, I said, hey, a win's a win. And you look at this one, and Lady Wolf scored a couple, one in the first, one in the second. They tied it with a couple there. And then Taylor Everson comes out in the top of the third and gave the Lady Wolves the lead back in a very emphatic way, hit one that was just right of the flagpole. Mm-hmm. I said on the stream, I said that one nearly hit the flagpole. She hit a bat flip on it. Just an all-around great moment. And from then on out, you really never looked back. You had a couple of more home runs in this one. Taylor hit another one, hit a 2-run home run. I think that's her first multi-home run game of the season, following up from one that she had last year in the national tournament. And then a little bit of a surprise, maybe. You turn to the bench. Coach Malia turns to the bench, brings out Emily Williams, and all she does is crack her first home run of the year for a 2-run home run in a pinch hit appearance. It kind of felt like, especially late in that game, every move that y'all made was the exact perfect one for that game. Right.
Well, going to Emily, it was definitely the right call. She's been seeing the ball really well at practice, and decided to give her a shot whenever the shot was due, and she took full advantage of that. And when it went over the fence, everybody was screaming, everybody was yelling, everybody in the dugout came out screaming and yelling and jumping around. So it was a very exciting moment for Emily Williams. So we're very excited for her.
Yeah. 11 runs on 15 hits. We mentioned just a second ago they scored 2 in the third, 3 in the sixth. Co-Lin scored 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 3 in the fifth, 4 in the sixth. That's where you get 11-5. You had 15 hits in this one. The only 2 in the lineup who didn't get a hit were Kinley Maldair and Abby Burnett. Maldair did get on base, though. But you look at it, 3 hits from Morgan Chisholm and Carson Huey, 2 apiece from Breeley Phillips, Olivia Baines, Taylor Everson. Both of hers were home runs. A hit from Avery Williams, a hit from Emery Warren, a hit from Emily Williams. So anytime you go up and down the lineup and nearly everybody is getting a hit, you like your chances of being able to get a win in that one.
Absolutely. When one's not on, the other one is. So it's like you got to have each other's back, and that's like the name of the games is having each other's back and being a team and having a team win, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. And as we mentioned, Emily Richard got the win in this one. 7 innings, another complete game for her. 4 hits, 5 runs, all of them unearned. 4 walks, 5 strikeouts. I know she won't be happy with those walks to strikeouts, but you've got to be happy with the fact that she was able to keep that perfect line. She's 10-0 now on the year. That's something you don't see happen very often in this conference. Normally somewhere along the way you're going to pick up a loss, but right now, nearly at the halfway mark, or right at the halfway mark, she's perfect throughout the year.
Well, I think Emily knew that, her outing was good, but she knew that it was kind of rough in the field that day, but regardless, she knew the team had her back, so she was going to continue to walk that straight line and pitch the game like she knows that she can.
And then you go to the next game, game 2, 4-3, but it took 9 innings to get that 4-3 score there. A game that I think was a high pressure game. Lots of moments where things could have gone against the Lady Wolves. They didn't. Taylor Everson was able to get out of a lot of jams in this one. Just talk about this one. Talk about how good it felt to be able to get that win and walk it off and be able to celebrate that. Yeah, you had 2 more coming up later in the week, but you were able to celebrate this one and really enjoy it for a second.
Right. So, like you said, Taylor Everson had a really good outing against Gulf Coast. The best thing is to be able to see Taylor go that long, go straight 9 innings, and she did not look like she was getting out of gas at all. I mean, she went up there and she pitched like we've wanted her to do all year. And but that game was it was very intense. It was we were wondering when the bats were going to wake up for us. So but they did Gulf Coast did a good job, but whenever it was our time to shine, we did. And, going 2-2 into the top of the 9th whenever Gulf Coast scored that run, and then it was 3-2. People would say that we had our backs against the wall, but at the same time, I think the girls needed that to kind of wake up and say, hey, it's go time. Mm-hmm. It's time to get that run or another run, and let's walk this thing off. And that's exactly what they did, and, what better way to do it than at home. Right.
You look at this one, 2 runs scored by the Bulldogs in the first inning, took advantage of an error, got those 2 runs. Lady Wolves tied it up with 2 runs in the bottom of the second. It stays 2-2 all the way up until the 9th inning. Again, we mentioned it. There were a couple of times where the Lady Wolves could have scored, had some runners in scoring position, couldn't find that hit. There were a couple of times where the Bulldogs had runners in scoring position, had runners in scoring position with 1 out a couple of times, and the Lady Wolves were still able to get out of it. There were two or three times Breely Phillips made some heads-up plays defensively, runners on first and second, 1 out. She makes the fielder's choice, gets the out at third. At least 2 times that I can remember were big situations there. So a freshman who, had some mistakes throughout this doubleheader, but had some really great plays. And then you look at the top of the 9th, they took advantage of another error, scored a run, take it 3-2. But then you look at it, in the bottom of the 9th, Emily Williams comes up, leadoff walk. Carson Huey gives you a single that advances Abby Burnett, who was brought in to run. Breely Phillips, you go back and watch this play, and we talked about it. She caught the Bulldogs napping. They were not expecting the Lady Wolves leadoff batter to drop down a bunt. She does it perfectly. Catcher never looks, throws the ball to first base. Everybody is safe. You score a run on that play. Burnett scores, ties it. Game-winning run comes in because Olivia Bain's first pitch hits one right down the third base line. Hopefully we can have that clip for you. You can hear the call. And for a player like Olivia Baines to come up in that moment and produce and get you that win, it feels huge not only for the team but for Olivia as well too.
Absolutely. Olivia has definitely stepped up this year for us, and she's a great leader on the field, and in that moment she showed what her leadership really is. So very proud of her and very excited for her whenever she got that walk off. She was due, and she did it, and yeah.
You look at the box score on this one, we just mentioned it, but you were out hit 11-9, but 3 of those 9 hits, nobody had a better day in this game than Taylor Everson. She was 3 for 4, led the team in hits, 2 from Olivia Baines, 1 each from Breely Phillips, Emery Warren, Morgan Chisholm, Carson Huey, and we just mentioned it, Taylor, complete game, 9 innings. Yes, she gave up 11 hits. Yes, she gave up 3 runs. None of those were earned. I think the bigger thing in this one, 1 walk. When Taylor is on, we've seen it. She's not giving up walks and those kind of things. She had 6 strikeouts against 1 walk, and anytime, even if it's an extra inning game, when you're that much walks or strikeouts against walks, you've got to like your chances.
Absolutely.
But then you turn your attention to this past Friday. It was supposed to be Saturday, but Friday because of some weather. And you had to turn around and play another long game, another extra inning game. You got to sweep in this one. Game 1 was 2-1, a game where I think I told you, I said, I've never seen a conference game in all my years of being with MACCC softball that went to international tiebreaker. This one goes to international tiebreaker in the 10th. You win it 2-1. Just talk about how good that one felt. And, it was a little bit different because you had to win that one and then you had to turn around and go play a second one. And, how different is it as a coach? And you've got to help your team reset and get that mindset right and get ready for game 2.
So, game 1 was obviously a really long game for us. But, our defense was there and our defense was alive. And Em did everything she could to get out of hard situations that got thrown at her that day. And, but with the defense having her back. And, it's always hard whenever you're on the road for conference games. So I think that had a little bit to do with it. But the excitement, the thrill, we had runners in scoring position a lot. Just couldn't get them to cross. And then whenever we finally did, it felt like a sigh of relief because we were like, as soon as we get this run across and we go up, Em is going to be able to finish this like we want her to, and she did just that.
Yeah, and you look at this box score. Co-Lin scored 1 in the first. They tied it with 1 in the bottom of the third, and then, as we mentioned, it was kind of quiet for a lot of that game. For a lot of those innings, there was maybe a one single or one base runner or something like that. No one really got a runner into scoring position until late, and then even so, both Emily Richard and Alyssa Clift, the starting pitcher for the Indians, were able to get out of those jams until we mentioned it. Like in the 10th inning, you go to international tiebreaker, and for those at home who don't understand that, basically what happens is you get the last out from the inning before at second base with no out. So both teams get that advantage. Right. So there's no advantage for either team. But you turn around and you look at it in that inning. Abby Burnett, if I'm not mistaken, Abby Burnett was your runner. Carson Huey reaches on an error. You get runners at the corners. And then Breeley Phillips hits a sac fly. You would have loved to have scored more, but hey, getting that one with the way that Emily was pitching felt huge because, again, they get that same advantage. Emily goes line out, pop out, strike out. And I told you, we were watching the game while the baseball game was going on, but the game one kind of ended right after our game one did. And that might be the most emotion I've ever seen out of Emily Richard in the circle. I kind of looked and I said, is that Emily? Because I don't think I've ever seen her be that emotional in the circle. And I think it's just a testament to how gritty that game was and how emotionally charged that game was.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Emily has a lot of passion for this game, and she throws her tail off and every time she goes out there. So I think going into 10 innings, I think Em was just ready to finish the game and end it because, it was already going to the 10th inning. And then whenever she was like, my team's got my back. Regardless, they're going to do everything. They're going to have my back on the field. They're going to have my back whenever they get to the plate. And when we finally produced and got that run, Em said, I knew it. They had my back. So she gets out there and she does what she does best. Right. And yes, the emotions were flying. And then after that game was over, we're out there talking to him and we're like, hey, we're going to do everything that we can to make sure y'all's energy stays up. Because yes, us as a coaching staff, we were tired too. I mean, that's a lot. It takes a lot of emotion out of you and a lot of energy out of you whenever you're playing 10 innings just for game one. And then you have a whole nother game two coming right behind it. So, that game one, I was looking at them and I said, hey, we're going to give you all of our energy. Make sure you're giving us y'all's, right. And that's exactly what they did for game two. So couldn't ask for anything else. And
in game one, you look at it, 5 hits, 2 from Carson Huey, 1 from Taylor Efferson, Kinley Maudaire, and Morgan Chisholm. And we mentioned this pitching line, Emily Richard, 10 innings, a complete game, 3 hits, 1 run, it was earned, 8 walks, 9 strikeouts. Again, you ask him, does she want to be one more strikeout than walks? No, but hey, that 9th strikeout was the game winner, and she'll take having 9 right. in that situation all day, every day. And then you look at game two. Game two, you came out and the bats exploded. You win this one 10-0. You really kind of left no doubt. It was scoreless after the first, but Lady Wolf scored 2 in the second, 1 in the third, 2 in the fourth, 5 in the fifth. I think the 5-run fifth was highlighted by a home run by Addison Lindley. You turned to her for a pinch hit home run, her first of her career as well too. The Avery Williams also hit a solo run in this one. I think at that point made that one 3-0. I told her the other day, I said I was watching when you hit that one, and I was like, go ball, go, get out of here. And it did. And it's got to feel good as a coach to see, again, the girls brought the energy. They were able to get a shutout. They were able to nail this one and really kind of run away with this one early and never left any doubt. Right, yeah. So, I mean, like I told you, we asked them to give them give them the energy, and we gave it back, and it was just kind of like they didn't lay down. They found a way to wake the bats up for that game. And, I mean, like you said, Addison Lindley coming in clutch and hitting that home run. I mean, like I told you before, whenever a pinch hitter gets a home run, the dugout is ecstatic. And it's because everybody in that dugout wants to see each other do great, okay? So, and that's exactly what she did. She came out there. She was confident. She's been doing really well as well at practice and seeing the ball really well and has just improved tremendously. And when she got put in that situation, we had no doubt that she wasn't going to be able to, handle
adversity or anything like that. And she came in there, and that was an absolute bomb. And when it went over, everybody was just ecstatic. So
you look at this one, 11 hits, 3 of them off the bat of Taylor. She went a perfect 3 for 3, 2 from Stella Roberts, 1 each from Emily Williams, Kinley Maldair, Avery Williams, Addison Lindley, Olivia Baines, Breeley Phillips. You look at these pitching lines. Taylor Efferson comes out 4 innings of really basically almost perfect softball, no hits, no runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Keegan McCorkle got an inning, 1 hit, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. So a very solid outing from your pitchers in this one as well too.
Yeah, the pitching staff has done really, really well, and they've had each other's back. So if you're starting one and you have to go to another, they're in the dugout cheering each other on, because they are together, they are connected. They're obviously a family. We're all a family, but I mean that pitching staff has to stay together, for us to be able to produce. And
now we turn our attention to the games that are coming up this week, and arguably probably one of the hardest tests you've had, maybe since Gulf Shores. You're going to welcome in the highest ranked team you've played since playing at Gulf Shores. The Bobcats of Jones are going to come in here. This is a top 5 matchup. This is number 3 Jones versus number 4 Co-Lin. This is rematch of the national championship game from a couple of years ago, rematch from last year's region championship game, region championship games for the last 2 or 3 years. I think if you're a fan of the sport, if you're a fan of MACC softball, you know what this matchup means. Everybody knows what's going to happen. But what do we know about the Bobcats coming into this one, and what are we expecting out of that bunch when they come into Wesson?
I mean, obviously, I've told you before, obviously everybody in this conference is really hard, really tough. Jones is going to come in, and they're gonna give us their best, just like everybody else has this year. So I mean, we're excited. The girls are prepared. We've done everything we can, and they are ready, and they're ready to play at home, and they're ready to show out in front of their home crowd, and we appreciate all the support whenever they do. So it's gonna be a good day today.
And 4 and 6 on those start times, and then the next one's right now scheduled for Saturday, April 5th. Those could be played on Friday because of some weather. Tune into our social media channels. We'll let you know when those happen. 1 and 3, you're going to welcome in the Lady Lions. It's going to be a special day because not only are you welcoming the Lady Lions, we're going to honor 9 sophomores who have done a lot for this program and will continue their careers well past this day. But you get to honor their careers up to this point. What do we know about the Lady Lions? I know this is a team that they've shown they're capable of beating really good teams. They've beaten some teams on the road. They've beaten some teams at their place. So you're in for a tough test when they come over here on Saturday.
Oh yeah. So they're going to come over here and they're going to be tough. They're not going to be just a team that you can just blow by, just like anybody else in this conference. Like I've spoken before, everybody's going to give us their best, and obviously we're going to give everybody our best, and that's what we plan to do. It's going to be a fun day. It's going to be an emotional day. These sophomores mean a lot to us. So glad that it's just a day to remember them and to make it their day. And I'm just glad it's not going to be the last game with them. Right. So we're ecstatic, and I don't know. It's going to be fun week for softball for sure. So
lots of exciting things happening for Lady Wolf softball. Again, they continue their undefeated streak. They win 4 more, 11-5 and 4-3 in extras against Gulf Coast, and then 2-1 in 10 innings and 10-0 against Itawamba. Both of those were ranked matchups. Lady Wolves have now run their winning streak up to 25 games. Again, sitting a perfect 14-0 as they welcome in the number 3 Bobcats on Wednesday, 4 and 6 on those times. And then East Mississippi, right now scheduled for Saturday, again, could be Friday, 1 and 3 on those start times if they're Saturday. If they're Friday, we'll let you know. Again, tune into all of our social media channels. We'll let you know. If you can't make it out to the ballpark for the games, of course, we'll have the streams. I'll be on the call for you. Coach, thanks for joining us. And we look forward to everything that the Lady Wolves are going to do. We look forward to how the season's going to finish and a postseason run and all those things that come with that as well too. So stick with us through the break. We've got more spring sports on the way, tennis, baseball, all coming your way after this.
At Copiah Lincoln Community College, you'll find a family of instructors and staff who truly care about your success. And not to mention a really fun college experience too. Co-Lin was recently ranked number 1 in the state for student success. So whether you need to start or finish your college degree, take classes on one of our 3 campuses or online, Co-Lin is the place to be.
Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. And now we're going to talk about tennis. And joining me is our head men's and women's tennis coach, Tripp Case. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
And Coach, obviously, we haven't been able to get you on before now, and the regular season's almost over, but we do still have a few matches left. I know we closed out the home slate yesterday with a couple of wins, celebrated sophomore day. You beat Northeast 9-0 on the girls' side, 7-2 on the guys' side. But your thoughts overall on how the season's going? I know the records maybe look like not what you want them to look like, but right. The conference records are really good, and that's probably, again, we talk about it all the time, yes, overall you want that record to look good, but that conference record is what matters most because that's where most of your competition is happening anyway.
Right. On the women's side, you've got 9 conference matches, and, we try to fill those other spots with quality matches that help prep us for the tougher conference opponents. And so we're looking to play teams that are top 25 in the nation, on both sides, so that we can prep for nationals, so that we can get ready for, again, those top 2 or 3 teams in our league, in our conference. And so, we've played several 4-year schools, and, it's my philosophy that we'll continue to do that, to prep for just tough JUCO competition around the U.S. that we'll play towards the end of postseason.
Right, and just for clarification's sakes for people back home, that's not an oddity, especially for Mississippi JUCO tennis, that you'll play a lot of those 4-year schools, especially the ones around here. You see a lot of the teams like Jones and Gulf Coast, they'll go and they'll play Delta State, they'll play Alcorn, they'll play Jackson State, they'll play all those teams because, as you mentioned, the team as a whole gets better by playing those games. And, you also get the chance to, you have some individuals who do shine. They do get some upsets. You had, especially on the men's side, like Jake and Ige getting that win over Jackson State, or getting a win over a number 1 guy at UNO, and those kind of things. But going back to the women, you look at it, I think if you look at it, the record says 4-10, 4-5 in conference play again, but as we were just talking, that 4-5 in conference play, there's a lot of teams who are 4-5 in conference play right now. So that's kind of feels like it may be a good thing for you. But you look at it, and I think if you had to look at it and assess it this year, you've had to overcome some injuries. Yari Bello at one point has been hurt. I know Munashe Berra has been hurt as well too. Other girls have gone in and out of the lineup because of some injuries and those kind of things. And because of that, maybe you weren't as settled in your lineup every time as you wanted to be, or things didn't go the way that you thought they would or had them planned out, but you were still able to overcome that and get some wins throughout the year. Right.
Yeah, we've had to deal with some nagging injuries, things here and there that cause us to not be at 100%. But, that's why we talk about the scoreline and how close these matches are. Sometimes you got to do what you can. If you're at 80%, you got to give 100% of that 80%. And so, dealing with injury, I feel like we handled it well and played to the best of our capacity at times. But you're right, it's very competitive. And as we said, teams are getting better and better. The middle of the pack now is really a tight race. And so having a few injuries here and there when one court decides the match is a big deal. And so, you're just trying to make the best of that, especially with a small roster.
Right. And you talk about that roster. You've had contributions, I think, from just about everybody on it. We mentioned Yari. She had a week when y'all went over to Texas. She beat the number, I think, 21 and 10 singles players in the nations. Munashe has come up and gotten some singles wins for you despite having a knee ailment. Kaylee Ann Griffin is one that, you've had to turn to her, and she's filled in some key spots as well, too. Georgina LaBush, your other international from Germany, she's come up with some big wins for you. Sophie Sisson and Clark Van, they've come up with some wins. Allie Grace McNeil as well, too. And Gracie Smith, I know there's been a couple of times where Gracie's actually won you a couple of matches. It's come down to her, I think, at that 6 single spot or 5 single spot, and she's been able to clinch a match for you. So I think up and down, you've got to feel really good about the fact that, you're losing 4 or 5 players out of this bunch, but the ones that are coming back, they've gotten a lot of experience, and you're going to be able to carry that forward and carry it through to the postseason play as well, too.
Right. And speaking about Georgina LaBush, I feel like she's been one that definitely has grown. We've been really pleased with how in doubles her and Sophie Sisson have started really meshing together well at a time that we really need them to step up. And they got a big win against Jones at two doubles. So we're proud of how they progressed. And we look forward to seeing what Georgina does next year and as she continues to improve.
And now we'll flip over and we'll talk about the men. The men's record, 7-8, and we just talked about it a second ago. You got a chance to get to 500, which has got to feel good. But on the conference side, you're well above 500. You're going to finish 6-4 thanks to that last win against Northeast. And this is again a roster where you've had to deal with some injuries in this one. You've had some up and down stuff. You've got one international who hadn't got the chance to play at all. Maybe might get some postseason play under his belt. But you've overcome a lot of things this year, and to be able to be at 7-8 and 6-4, you've got to be really happy with how that season's gone, despite the injuries and the things that you've had to overcome this season.
I agree. Going into the season, if you had said, hey, one of your top 3 players is going to be out for the whole season, would you take a 6-4 conference record? I might would have taken that, just because, again, we go back to how close the conference race is with, more top-level international talent coming in, and now you got a 1, 2, and 3 spot that is filled by out-of-state or international players that are competitive, and I think the margins are shrinking in ability level across the whole conference. So it's important that you can compete up top, and for us to do as well as we have, one down. It's tough to you try not to think about what could have been, but in all honesty, you have a full, healthy roster again. You may be up in the top 3 or 4, or you're chasing a conference title at that point. Right. Just don't know what can happen, but every team deals with injury, and I feel like we've done our best to stay positive, and that's why we've come out with 6 wins.
Right, so. And one pairing that we want to definitely talk about is your one doubles, Ige Altus and Jake Busick. Yesterday, because they beat Northeast in that one doubles match, they took the MACCC doubles crown. And, people are back home watching this are probably thinking, well, what's the big deal there? It's a huge deal. It's the first time Co-Lin has won it since 2020 with the Julians, Julian Tolosa and Julian Parada. But not only is it the first time that you've won, it gets them an automatic bid into that national tournament. And as you mentioned yesterday when we were talking, not only is it a doubles bid for them, it's a singles bid. So that's huge. You're going to have at least 2 guys going and play it over there. And you feel good about your chances of getting the whole team there, even if it's an at-large bid. But they have been solid for you. Not only did they win the conference, they've gotten several upsets in some of your university matches as well, too. So just talk about how well they've played together all year.
It's a pairing that we kind of stumbled into, practicing and preparing in the fall and spring, having 3 international players that are at the top of your lineup. You like to change things up and see who plays well together. Nico and Ege have known each other for years, and so initially we thought, man, that's a strong pairing, and they had a couple big wins in the fall scrimmages. But, as it goes, it never plays out how you expect, and Ege and Jake played the whole season together at one doubles, and I couldn't be prouder of how they ended up progressing. Like you said, they ended up conference champions at the one double spot and get the automatic bid, and they complement each other real well. 2 lefties. Jake's a tall lefty, Aussie, so Aussies are known to have great serves and can volley real well. I think he'll be all right with that stereotype, but he's played well, and Ege has, he's just so smooth from the baseline. Does a really good job closing at the net. So they're just a perfect combination there, and I really look forward to seeing how in the future, postseason play at nationals, I think they're going to do well. We'll see. They're right on the edge maybe of getting seeded, but in my opinion, but looking forward to seeing how in year 2, if they stay together as partners, how they really mesh. And it'd be tough to separate them at this point. So
one thing that stood out to me yesterday, I heard some of the Northeast players, they were talking about Ege, and they, especially when he was playing singles, they were like, man, his serve is so good. And they're like, I don't understand how he hits the ball that just barely gets over, and then it dies on the net and those kind of things. They were like, he's such a tough player to play against. And to hear other people talking about it, you're like, okay, yeah. And then not that I don't get to see it, but I'm like, man, I'm watching the things they're talking about, and then I'm like, man, that really is impressive, and that makes it tougher for opponents when they know they've got a very tough person that they're going against in that spot.
Yeah, I agree. One thing about Ege's play style is that it's very adaptive. He has a lot of tools. He finds ways in matches to really pick on your weakness, and he'll change his play style. He'll grind at the baseline, but then if that's not working, or if get aggressive off his baseline play, then he'll move forward and try to close the net. So I'm really pleased with how he's done both in singles and doubles. Singles, he's had some big wins. He beat number 9 player from, that player was from Seward County. So has had some really, top 50 caliber wins in the JUCO realm. And again, he knows his level. He knows where he can go. The UNO match, when we went down and played University of New Orleans, he won in the third set. The other player had to retire. But, I told him those are the type of wins that are going to get you to the next level. And so now he's really seeing what he's capable of. And I look forward to seeing, now UNO coach is texting me about him, seeing what his plans are after next year. So it's just it's awesome to see how these players progress, and that's really the foundation of the program I want to establish is I want everybody to rise to a new level. And I think that's what we've done individually and then collectively, despite some adversity, we found a way.
Right, and we'd be remiss if we didn't also mention some of the American kids, all of them Mississippi guys. One that I really want to talk about is Robert Adcock. He's really stepped up for you. He's played in that 2 double spot with Tristan Rollins. They've found some really good wins there, and Robert's also gotten some really good wins at 3 singles as well too.
Absolutely. I've been real pleased with how Robert has grown in singles. I know we talked about it the other day. Sometimes, like you said, the scoreline doesn't really, reflect the progress he's made because he has had to move up to that 3 single spot playing against great out-of-state and international players. But when you go out and watch him, and I know you've seen a few matches this year. His focus, his just ability to stay in points against better players has all increased, and so I think you'll see that even in postseason play, he's going to be ready, and he'll continue to impress.
Yeah, and my bad there on the coughing. I'm a little under the weather, or been under the weather, so we're going to get through it though, folks, I promise. But other guys that have really stepped up for you this year, Mason Brand has come in and played really well in that 3 double spot, along with Simon Cooper, who has been a guy that has. You gave him an award yesterday during sophomore day, and I can't describe him anymore. He's a gritty guy, and he won the Grit Award. Sophie Sisson got it for the women's team. But I think that's the perfect way to describe Simon. He just grits out games. He grits out points. He finds a way to get you in. He's had a couple of match sealing wins for you this year as well, too. Another one that we hadn't really talked about yet, Jax Leggett, a guy who doesn't play doubles for you, but plays in that 6 single spot, and really there for a while. He was getting you a win in 6 singles just about every match he was playing in, so he was very reliable for you and still has continued to be. But those guys have really found ways to step up for you and really contribute all year as well, too.
Yeah, Jax, we call him the utility knife because he's just come in and filled a spot that we really needed at 6 singles, especially with everybody sliding up with Nico out. And he had a really big clinch against, over in Texas against, who was it? Trying to remember now, I'm drawing a blank on it. It was
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, yep, number 16 ranked Jacksonville. So that was a big non-conference win there. And I've been impressed with how he's grown. I mean, he's one that comes to practice every day too, with ready to improve and ready to see how he can take his singles game to the next level. And I wouldn't be surprised if by next year he finds his way into the doubles lineup too. So.
And we look forward. I know you've got a couple of matches left. You're going to go play Nichols. I believe that one's happening on Thursday. Again, a 4-year university that doesn't count towards that overall record for our purposes, but you get better by playing that team, find a couple of points here and there, and then you'll close out the regular season with a match against Coastal Alabama. You're going to go over and play them, I believe, at Mobile Tennis Center. Right. That'll be the last one before you turn your attention to the conference tournaments and hopefully some national tournament appearances and those kind of things. Mm-hmm. What are you looking forward to out of both teams as they kind of close out the year here and continue to grow and continue to play tennis throughout the rest of the year?
Yeah, these 2 matches are great ones to finish the year on. Nichols, of course, is a tough Division I opponent, and we're just looking to stay sharp against tougher opponents in preparation for regionals. But, Coastal Alabama is another really good team. Like I feel like in the Alabama conference, they're very close to us and maybe how we stack up. So we played them in the fall, and the girls won 5-4, and the guys lost 3-6. So it's definitely a winnable match on both sides, but it'll be a good measuring stick to see how we progressed and how we can match up again, with a few months of practice in between.
Well, Coach, it's been a fun year for tennis. I know that it's not done yet. Still got a lot more to go. Hopefully we can get you back in here, maybe after those conference tournaments or even after those national tournaments as well, too. A year where Co-Lin is going to go back to the national tournament, at least on the men's side, where you had a backdraw champion in Arnie as well, too. So, people kind of maybe know that Co-Lin name now because of what Arnie was able to do last year and hopefully what Ige and Jake and the rest of the Wolves and Lady Wolves are going to be able to do at those national tournaments as well, too. So lots of exciting things have happened for tennis this year. They've still got a long way to go as they finish out the year with a match against Nichols and then Coastal Alabama this upcoming weekend. And then they'll turn their attention to the conference and region tournaments and hopefully some national tournaments appearances as well, too. We'll have Coach Case on again after all that's said and done. Stick with us. Coming up after the break, we'll talk with baseball and find out how they've done over their last few and preview their upcoming matchups after this. Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through the break, and it's our final segment. It's all about baseball this week, and joining me is our head baseball coach, Adam Chamblee. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Yep.
And Coach, obviously a little bit of a rough patch here. The last 6, you've gone 2-4. You've been on the wrong end of a couple of sweeps. We're going to start with one of those. Last week, you go over to Gulf Coast, and you get swept there. You lose both games. Game 1, 7-0. Game 2, much closer, 4-2, a game where you had a lead for a little while, and unfortunately gave that one up. But going back to Game 1, and just the thoughts overall on that sweep, it just felt like it was a tough day for the Wolves, especially with Waters being so on last week. Just felt like that's even when they had that 2-0 lead, it was going to be a big hill to climb, unfortunately.
Yeah, they did pitch it really well all day long. So that made it tough on us for sure. But I thought they played really well. I mean, I thought they may have played one of their better days all year, it sounds like, from talking to their coaches. I know they haven't really been swinging the bat great, and it seemed like they kind of did it all that day, and played defense. And so it was a tough one.
You look at the box score. They scored 2 in the third, 5 in the fifth, and that's really all the runs they had. Only 4 runs from the Wolves, 1 each from Tucker Jones, Evan Holyfield, Bradley Hanlon, Avery Griffin. In the pitching lines, Cohen Weinhofer, probably his worst outing in about a month or so. 4 2/3, 5 hits, 7 runs. All of them earned 5 walks, 2 strikeouts. Tanner Blackwell gives you 3 1/3 in relief, 4 hits, no runs, 2 walks. We talk about it all the time. Anytime when you're, the 7 walks in this one, that's not great. Double digits not where you want to be, but when you're 7 walks to 2 strikeouts, it's going to be a little bit of a rough day. But then you look at Game 2, it feels like it was a good bounce back. Felt like, you were really in control until Gulf Coast hit those two-run home runs back-to-back. That's how they got the lead. In the second inning, Tucker Jones hits a home run. Third inning, Sam Cook hits a solo home run. It's a 2-0 lead with Jennings on the mound, and you feel good about your chances. Unfortunately, they were able to just time up a couple of pitches against him and get that win.
Yeah, he made, I guess, 2 mistakes, and they hurt us on those, and that's part of it. But yeah, we fought good. The effort was good, but just obviously came up short, and they kind of swing for the long ball a little bit at their field, which is not as big of a park, but those balls are still probably getting out at most places. So, tough one.
You actually out-hit them 8-4. Tucker had 3 hits. Sam Cook had 2. Reese Thomas, Evan Holyfield, Trey Davidson with 1 each. Mentioned it, Jennings takes the loss, 5 innings, 4 hits, 4 runs. 3 of those earned, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Excuse me. Lucas Harrington, an inning pitched, no hits, no runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. So not bad lines from your pitchers in this one.
We've got to find a way to score, which is something here recently that we've not been able to do. We've not been able to run the bases like we normally have, and all of those things. We've just not able to score runs. I mean, obviously, if you can't you can't score runs, it's going to be hard to win games. So it's that part's been tough on us.
All right, and then we turn our attention to Itawamba came this past weekend. You're supposed to play those on Saturday, ended up playing them on Friday, but you were on the better end of the sweep here. You sweep the Indians, had to feel good being at home, getting that sweep, and really kind of dominating and commanding the whole day.
Yeah, maybe one of our better days here recently. Swung it well, pitched it well, just played hard all day long. Which we're going to play hard. That's not a surprise, but just kind of, for the most part, kind of dominated the whole day all the way around. So, yeah, really good to bounce back and get the sweep. So I was definitely proud of that.
Right. And you look at this one, you scored 2 in the third, and then in probably the wildest, wackiest, craziest inning I think I've ever seen in baseball, you erupt for 7 innings, and then the inning ends on a triple play, maybe the first triple play in Co-Lin baseball history. I'm not real sure. You'd have to go way back to look through all that. But the first one I know that I've seen, I think, ever live, and then you scored 2 in the 6th, and that's where you get the 11-0 victory. You had 11 hits in this one. Anytime you score 11 runs on 11 hits, you got to like your odds at winning that one. 2 apiece from Reese and Tucker. Everybody else in the lineup had at least 1 hit, or everybody else in the lineup did have 1 hit. Trey Davidson, Evan Holifield, Sam Cook, Caleb Brooks, Bradley Hanlon, Brady White, Avery Griffin. Anytime you're saying everybody's name in the lineup to get a hit, it's going to be a good day for you.
Yeah, for sure. It was good to see. We kind of go from the day at Gulf Coast and not swinging it well and not scoring to an 11 spot on somebody. So was definitely hoping that hey, maybe this is waking it up a little bit.
And then Cameron Patterson got the start for you, and you and I talked about it after the game. I said if CPAT pitches like that for the rest of the year, he's going to win a lot of games. The team's going to win a lot of games. By far his best outing of his entire career. Got a complete game, pitched all 7 innings, only gave up 1 hit. That was a 1-out single in the second inning, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, just dominated the zone, commanded every pitch that he threw for a strike. Just a great outing from CPAT in that one.
Yeah, if he does that more times than not, then he is going to be completely fine. So it was good to see for him.
And then you look at game two. Game two, you kind of had to come from behind in this one. They took advantage of some things in the first inning, scored 4 on you. They scored 1 in the 6th as well, too. But by the time they had scored that 1, you had already scored 2 in the first, 1 in the 4th, and then 6 in the 5th. And that's really what kind of blew it open there for you. Again, it had to be good to see the guys kind of find a way to win this one and battle back and bounce back after a tough start to it. But, you cut the lead down in half to start it. But, again, the guys showed grit throughout it, and that's something we talked about all year with your team.
Yeah, they have, especially in a 7-inning game, and you give up a 4 spot in the first inning. I mean, you automatically, the first thought is, hey, it's shorter game. It's going to be tough to get those runs back, and but you also never know what can happen, so you just keep playing, and we were able to make it happen.
And then you look at this one, 12 hits, 3 apiece from Reese Thomas and Caleb Brooks, 2 from Brady White, 1 from Trey Davidson, Evan Holifield, Sam Cook, Avery Griffin. Pitching lines, not the best start from Dean Morgan. He only gave you an inning, gave up 4 runs, all earned on 3 hits, 2 walks, and a strikeout. Carter Leggett came in and I thought probably had one of the best outings he's had. Mm-hmm. 2 innings of 2-hit relief, no runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Lucas Harrington got the win in relief with 2 innings, gave up a run. It was earned, no hits, 5 walks, a little bit of an oddity from Lucas, and a few of those walks were probably pitches that were borderline, might would have got a call with a different umpire. 3 strikes for Lucas, and then Nash Sturdivant came in, closed the door, slammed it. Nash did what Nash does, 1 inning, 2 strikeouts, retired the other guy. Just an overall great day for the Wolves in that one.
Yeah, really, really good to see. And I know we're obviously about to talk about the next 2 games. I was hoping, that sweep would lead into us just continuing to play. Not that we play bad in the Jones games, and obviously we'll get more into those, but was hoping that it would light a fire a little bit, and and we didn't. Once again, we didn't play bad at Jones. Just things didn't go our way a little bit, and we just got to fix some of the things that we are continually doing. And if we don't fix them, it is going to be hard to win some games with how our performances are going. So.
And you look at these Jones games, we're going to talk about them, you got swept, and in both of them, You can kind of circle one inning. One inning is kind of what feels like it did you in. And, there's not always that you can point to one, but, you lose game 1 8-3 because they scored 5 in the fourth. Outside of that, you take that inning away, it's a 3-3 ball game, and you may play for a while on that one. It just felt like kind of throughout the game, even when you got some momentum, Jones would steal it right back, especially after they had that 5-run fourth. You scored 2 in the third to take a lead, 1 in the seventh, but they had scored 5 in the fourth, 1 in the sixth, 2 in the eighth. That's how they got to 8-3. But you even look at when it was 6-3, it felt like it was maybe a little more manageable. You didn't score the next inning, and then they scored, and that maybe that felt like it's what took all the momentum away. But, still, again, guys didn't lay down. Guys continued to fight. You still had productive at-bats. You still battled throughout that one. And I think as a coach, you've got to like that you saw that part of it anyways.
Yeah, but, going back to that 5-run inning, that's been the reoccurring theme, for us, to where it's everything else will look okay, and then you look on the scoreboard, and it's a 4 spot, a 5 spot, a 6 or 7 spot in one inning. That has just kind of been our kryptonite, and a combination over and over of walks in an inning and then giving up hits in an inning. It's just not obviously it's pretty simple stuff. It's not a good combination, and we just continually put ourselves in that situation. I mean, Jones earned some things too, right? But we give them a little bit. When you're playing a good team and you give them a little bit, and then they can also go earn some, like, not that you have to play a perfect game, but you have to play clean. You have to play a good game, and or at least every inning has to be fairly good. And if you have a meltdown of an inning, the odds of coming back from it are tough too when they're good on the mound, and they are going to be able to hold you down a little bit with some of the bullpen arms and things like that. So it's tough that it comes down to one inning, but that's just what it boils down to.
Right. And you look at the box score, you had 8 hits in this one, 3 from Trey Davidson, 2 each from Brady White, Avery Griffin, 1 from Lucas Harrington. Those are your 8. And you look at the pitching lines, Cohen Weinhofer, again, a little bit of a rough outing, 3 2/3. He gave up 5 runs, all earned on 5 hits, 3 walks, 1 strikeout. Jacob Buffalo comes out, gives you 2 1/3, 2 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, and a strikeout. Darren Robbins gives you 2/3, gave up a hit and a walk. D. Morgan came in, gave you an inning and a third, 2 runs on 2 hits, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. So, in game 1 of that doubleheader, it kind of felt like it was a little rough one for the pitchers. You look at that the line for Buffalo, that's about what you're used to seeing out of him. So he gave you what he normally does, and I think you'd say the same thing for Darren Robbins. The other guys, Cohen and D, maybe you want to look and be like, we got to have a little bit more. Got to be just a little bit better, because if we're just a little bit better, we find a way to win that game.
Yeah. Well, really, I thought, not that I wouldn't say anybody on the mound in that game had an outstanding performance, but I would say the 3 bullpen arms, for the most part, did their job. What we were kind of asking them to do in that situation, and I thought they did that. And Cohen did. We kind of hit a certain point in the game with several of our guys on the mound, and it's like the roadblock inning, the middle innings of the game. If we could just get through those, or maybe skip through them, I guess if you could just skip through them, fast forward to innings 6 through 9, then we would be okay. But no, I thought those guys did their job and what we asked them to do, and I thought we went to the right guys in the times that we needed to, and I thought they answered what we were wanting. And but once again, that one inning, and we had 8 or 9 hits and only scored 3 runs. That's been another reoccurring thing that we have to figure out a way to fix, as an offense, on my end as well. And just how can we generate more runs, at the end of the day. We can't keep having a lot of hits and not many runs. We have to figure out a way to fix that. Right. So.
And then you look at game 2, and game 2 maybe you feel like it's a tough loss to swallow, because it feels like you did everything right until a certain point in this game, and that was the last inning. But they scored 2 in the first. You battled back, scored 1 in the third. They scored 1 in the fourth. You took advantage of an error on a play that scored 2 runs in the sixth, had the go-ahead run at third base. Unfortunately, a pop-out ends the inning and leaves that run there. And then in the bottom of the 7th, it starts out well. You get back-to-back strikeouts, but then there's a hit by pitch, there's a double, you walk, intentional walk to get the bases loaded, and then on the third pitch to that last batter, unfortunately, he just finds a way to get it over the fence. The ball that literally, I thought the right fielder, I believe that was Caleb Brooks in the right field at that point. I thought Caleb was going to be able to run it down, but it just kept going, and unfortunately, you give up a walk-off grand slam, and that's how you get to 7-3. And I think it's the walk-off grand slam part of that one that probably hurts the most because, again, you did everything right. You played every strategy right. It just didn't go your way this time. And, unfortunately, you hate to say it, but sometimes that's baseball.
Yeah, it is. A couple things to talk about, though. Tying the game up, which Dylan Wesson had a really good game, had 3 hits. A guy that's just hung in there, with us playing different guys at times and trying to figure out, who to go to, and that's kind of been a tough part of it, but he jumps in and has 3 hits and, has that RBI. And then Owen Spooner, who pinch ran, did a great job of pushing it to go to third. So, if he doesn't run to third base, and which – I was kind of worried that he was about to make the third out at third. But, hey, he stays aggressive. He pushes it. They try to make a play there. The ball goes into the dugout, so he scores on that play. So, big-time effort play, and was glad to see him do that. And so that's when you get the 3-3. But, yeah, going into that last inning, and obviously we would have – perfect scenario, Hanlon gets the hit to put us ahead 4-3, which I want to say that at bat, he might have had a really long at bat. At one point in the game, he had a really, really good at bat. I think it ended in a strikeout for him, but he had a really competitive at bat. So that was good to see as well. And then that last inning, once again, they earned a couple things, other than the hit by pitch, which, not to get into all that, but it barely got him if it got him, and if it was in a strike zone. All that good stuff. But, when they hit a double and a home run, it kind of is what it is. So, and all they needed was one. So, I thought we played it right. I thought we played the game hard. I thought the effort was all there 100%. And Nash Sturdivant gave us all he had, unfortunately. That lefty just 100% caught the ball because, he hit it well. So, just a tough day, a tough day for us, and we just got to keep playing.
Right. And, you look at the box score again, you out-hit them 7-6. You mentioned it. Dylan Wesson had 3 hits. You had a hit apiece from Trey Davidson, Lucas Harrington, Evan Holyfield, and Avery Griffin. Jennings Kimbrell got the start for this one, didn't take the loss, picked up that no decision, gave up 3 runs. 2 of those were earned on 4 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. That's kind of the normal line you're used to seeing from Jennings.
Yeah.
And then Nash Sturdivant takes the loss in 2/3 of an inning, gave up 4 runs, all earned on 2 hits, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. A little bit of a hard luck loss there for Nash because, unfortunately, he gets the loss by being the pitcher in that situation. And, again, a ball that, he just – like you said, that batter just struck that one pitch well, unfortunately. But now the good thing is you get to close the book on that. You get to move forward, and you've got another pretty tough road trip and going to face off against the East Mississippi Lions. That's scheduled for Saturday right now. I know that could be moved up earlier in that day, could be moved up a day because of weather, waiting to find out some news on that. But right now it's supposed to be Saturday at 2 and 5. What do we know about the Lions? I know that's a team that's kind of been a little up and down. I think, like us, they play a little bit better at home, maybe not so well as on the road. But what do we know about the Lions going into that one, and what are you expecting out of them when you go over there on Saturday?
I know they're coming off the bye, so they didn't play on Tuesday. I guess if they need to change their pitching or whatever they want to do on that end, they're going to be able to do that. That's always – tough playing somebody on their bye week. I guess could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, whatever. It is what it is. But I think they're going to be very similar to us, like you kind of already said. Record-wise, somewhat similar. I do know that they've had some injuries as well that they feel like are kind of hindering them some. Kind of similar to us. It sounds like I was actually looking at team stats throughout our conference earlier, and seems like a lot of categories we are close to them, whether it be team batting average, on base percentage, ERA, all that good stuff. So I think we're going to be very similar teams, and it's going to depend on, I mean, I guess like it always kind of depends on who shows up and plays well that day. And but they'll be, I mean, like we always say, none of them get any easier at this point in the year. Right. So it's another quality opponent.
Yeah, and I think the good news is you look at it and, you know, you're sitting okay as far as your record goes and those kind of things. You look at it and you're 23-16, 7-7 in conference play as far as conference play goes. You're right there in the thick of everything, right there probably where you kind of want to be right now in the middle of the season. You're not playing your best ball right now, but you've still got opportunities to turn that corner and get kind of back maybe where you were a little bit more at the first of the year. But you've got to like where you're sitting right now, you know, looking and saying, hey, we've got about a month left in the season.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got some time to figure it out. I mean, it's not a ton of time. Like, if we don't do it fairly quick, then we're going to look up, and it's going to be the end of April, and I guess we're either going to be in the playoffs or not, whether we sneak in or finish the highest we possibly can, which is obviously the goal. But, yeah, we've definitely got to get some things rolling. Otherwise, it could either just be an okay type year or a year where we do miss the playoffs, which is obviously not the goal, you know. So it's we got some work to do.
So lots of good things happening for Wolves baseball, despite being 2-4 in their last. One's getting swept by Gulf Coast, sweeping Itawamba, and then turning around getting swept by Jones. Again, they'll be on the road this Saturday. Those when those games are scheduled at East Mississippi, 2 and 5 start times. Don't forget, softball hosting East Mississippi. Right now, those are scheduled for Saturday. Could be played on Friday. Tune in to Co-Lin Athletics on all the social media channels. We'll let you know if those times change. Again, Lady Wolves celebrating Sophomore Day against the Lady Lions. Tennis also in action in their finale on Saturday at Coastal Alabama South. So an action-packed weekend of Wolves athletics coming your way. I'm Kevin Kyzar, Sports Information Coordinator here at Co-Lin. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.